All right, here we go. Let's get this slope formula page knocked out. One of the biggest things in algebra and really all of your math classes is that the skills are going to tend to build on each other. Meaning that if you did not understand something from a previous unit, there is a good chance that you are going to see that thing again in the units that come in the future. And a lot of it is just simple vocabulary type stuff that you need to make sure you understand. The more you understand the math vocabulary, everything else will become easier. So the first thing that we need to make sure we understand is when we are given a point on a graph, it is written as an ordered pair, right? It's some number with a comma in the middle and then another number. The first number is our x value. It goes left and right on that x-axis. The second number is our y value. That tells us how far up or down the point is on our y-axis. We have to know that the x comes first and the y comes second. If you don't know that part, this next part is going to become difficult. So we have to get familiar with some of this vocabulary. All right, with that being said, our slope formula. So this is a way to find the angle, I guess you could say it, or how tilted a line is if you're given 2 points on a graph. And so our formula is y2 minus y1. So our second y value minus our first y value over x2 minus x1. Our second x value minus our first x value. So when we are going to plug numbers in to our slope formula, the first thing that we need to do is go through and label each and every point as either x1, y1, or x2, y2. We have to know what's what before we start plugging in. What's going to happen is you might label a couple and then you're going to start feeling like, oh, I get it. And you're going to stop labeling your points, and then you're going to start making a bunch of silly mistakes when it comes to entering your numbers into your formula. So always, forever and ever, for here on out, you should be labeling your points. For me, the easiest way to do this is to just go through and label my x's and y's first. I'm just going to tell myself the first point is always an x, the second point is always a y. So I have an x and a y. The first number is an x, the second number is a y. So x and y, I'm not putting any numbers on it yet. I'm just going to go through and I'm going to label everything. X, y, x, y, x, y, x, y, right? I'm going to go through my whole worksheet here and I'm going to label all my points. And you guys should be doing the same, whether it's a in-class practice sheet or if it's a quiz or a test. You should be labeling all your points every single time so that you don't make small errors. And even when you label your points, you still might make small little errors, right? Because we're people. We make mistakes sometimes. And that's okay. As long as we recognize when we do make our mistakes, and then we try and create little systems to not make those mistakes again. Okay, so I have all of my x's and y's labeled. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to put in my 1s and 2s, right? What is my x1s and what are my x2s? What are my y1s and what are my y2s? So this first ordered pair is always going to get the 1s, right? So I'm just going to put 1s down for all of them. x1, y1, x1, y1, x1, y1. x1, y1, x1, y1, x1, y1, x1, y1, x1, y1. After I get through all those, I go through and put all the 2s on that second ordered pair. So x2, y2, x2, y2, and I go through and I do it for all of my other points. Does it take a minute or two if we're going slow? And some of us write a little slower than others, and that's okay. Maybe it takes us 3 minutes to go through and label all these. I bet it wouldn't take much more than that for even of our slowest writers. But that's okay, because when we go slow, things tend to go smoother. And when things go smoother, we actually end up getting done quicker. There's a saying, it says, slow is smooth and smooth is fast, and I agree. Now, once I have all of my points labeled, it's just a matter of plugging in to the formula. So for number 1, my formula says y2 minus y1. I look and I see, okay, I have y2 minus y1. My y2 is my 3 minus my y1, which is a 1. So I'm going to put that 3 minus 1. For my denominator on the bottom, it says x2 minus x1. x2 minus x1. My x2 is 4 minus my x1 is 1. Now, these numbers are small, and we can do this math if we need to. But we want to get in the habit of using our calculator. Let the calculator do the work. All right, so we'll pull up a calculator. All right, we'll pull up our calculator, we'll pull up our notes. And to get our fractions to show up in our calculator, remember we hit alpha, y equals, enter. And you get your fraction to show up on your calculator, and all we are going to do is type in exactly what it says on our page. 3 minus, I'm not using the negative sign, I'm using the minus sign, and we'll get to that a little bit more in a minute here. So 3 minus 1, we're going to arrow down, so now we're in the denominator, we're going to say 4 minus 1, I'm going to arrow over, so I'm no longer in my fraction, hit enter. If I get a crazy decimal, we can hit math, enter, enter. For most of your calculators, it's going to answer it in a fraction form, so we won't have to do that math, enter, enter step, but this online calculator makes me do it. So I have 2 over 3. And that's really it. We're just really, plugging in our numbers into our formula. All right, we have our formula at the top. We've got this formula, and we just plug our numbers in. We've already labeled them, so we can kind of start going quickly. So I'm going to just write out all of my formulas, and then I'll go back and enter them into the calculators. So number 2, I have negative 2 minus 4, my y2 my y2 minus my y1 over my x2, 10 minus negative 2. I'm going to pull up my calculator one more time for this one. Let's see, can we put it on the other side? Let's see, let me do that. Yes, come on. Maybe it won't. Maybe it won't. Okay, perfect. So I have alpha y equals, enter, negative, so I'm not using the minus sign, negative 2 minus 4, right? We have to be mindful of our negatives and our minuses. Arrow down to 10 minus negative 2. Arrow over, I hit enter, I hit math, enter, enter, because I have to use shouldn't, and you get negative 1 over 2. I wanted to show you that one on the calculator here, just to be mindful of those minus and negative signs and how they're similar. If you enter it into the calculator incorrectly, you'll get a syntax error message. So if you see a syntax error, then that just means that you've probably put a negative sign where there should be a minus sign, and maybe a minus sign where there should be a negative. One of the two. You might have flip-flopped them. Okay, let's set up the rest of these problems. So I have negative 5 minus 5 over negative 8 minus negative 4. This one I have I have positive 4 minus 0 over negative 2 minus 10. 9 minus 9 over 3 minus 5. 5 minus 8 over negative 7 minus negative 7. Careful with your minus negatives and clicking on the right buttons on your calculator. 3 minus negative 1 over, let's rewrite that one, that's ugly looking. We can do better than that. Here we go. 3 minus negative 1 over 2 minus 9. Negative, come on now. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. Negative 2 minus 13 over 6 minus negative 4. Oof. Five. Come on now. 5. Why are we giving me trouble? Here we go. All right, let's see. 5 minus 6 over 6 minus 5. Negative 4 minus negative 4 over 1 minus 9. So now that I have them all set up, we can go and punch these into our calculator. I'll do a few in the calculator, and then we'll just post up the answers here for the rest of them. Obviously, if you have questions or if you need help with putting things into the calculator, please let me know, and I will sit down with you and go over calculator skills. I have no problem doing that. All right. So here we go. We have negative 5 minus 5. Let's pull up our calculator. We have we have here we are. Alpha y equals, enter, negative 5 minus 5. And then on the bottom we have negative 8 minus negative 4. I arrow over, enter, math, enter, enter, and I get 5 over 2. Alpha y equals, enter, 9 minus 9, arrow down, 3 minus 5, enter, I get 0. 9 minus 9 is 0, 3 minus 5 is negative 2, 0 divided by anything equals 0. Alpha y equals, enter, 5 minus 6, 6 minus 5, I get a negative 1. Then I go back to the question that I skipped for some reason. Alpha y equals, enter, 3 minus negative 1, 2 minus 9, enter, math, enter, enter. And I get negative 4 over 7. That's not right. Oh, see, and here we go. Look, we're going quick. Perfect example. Mistake, right? A mistake was made. Something didn't feel right for me on this one, so I was looking at it. Even with me labeling points, right? Even with me labeling points, we wrote this wrong. Here, I'll bring it back. I said 3 minus negative 1. It should be 3 minus 9. And then it should be 2 minus negative 1 on the bottom, but I put 2 minus 9. I was going quick, not really paying attention, trying to do a couple things at once, and made a simple little mistake. It happens. It happens to everybody. So when you make mistakes, when you're doing this work, if you make mistakes and get one wrong, it's all right. Don't get frustrated. It happens. All right? Once you see it, figure out what you did wrong, fix it, and move on. So let's write it correctly. We have 3 minus 9 over 2 minus negative 1. That looks better. Something felt off on it when I was looking at it. I said, it doesn't seem like a good fraction. All those decimal points, all these decimal points over here on the calculator felt weird. So I wanted to look at it again. Let's put it back in the calculator here. Alpha y equals, enter, 3 minus 9 divided 3 minus 9, arrow down, 2 minus negative 1 equals negative 2. That feels better. Let's finish out the rest of these. alpha y equals, enter, 4 minus 0, negative 2 minus 10, math, enter, enter, negative 1 over 3. Number 6, alpha y equals, enter, 5 minus 8, negative 7 minus negative 7. Let's see what happens on this one. I hit enter, overflow error. You guys are going to not get an error that says overflow error. You guys are going to get an error that says divide by 0. If you get an error that says divide by 0, that means it is undefined. Undefined. That is because 5 minus 8 is negative 3. Negative 7 minus negative 7 is 0. We cannot divide by 0. That's why it's undefined. Number 8. I have alpha y equals, enter. I'm going to say negative 2 minus 13 divided, we already have the division line. I don't know, it's getting late, you guys. Negative 2 minus 13 divided by 6 minus negative 4. Arrow over, enter. I'm going to say math, enter, enter. And I'm going to get negative 3 over 2. And for our last one on this page, I have alpha y equals, enter, negative 4 minus negative 4. And on the bottom I have 1 minus 9. Arrow over, enter, and I get I get 0. Negative 4 minus negative 4 is 0. Over 1 minus 9 is negative 8. 0 divided by anything is a 0. All right, box up some of these answers that we didn't. All right, let's pull this whole page up so we can get a little bit of a better view. So here we go. Again, it's important that we know that when we are looking at a point, the x value comes first, the y value comes second. And then when you are using the slope formula with 2 points, you are labeling your points always and forever. Your x1, y1, x2, y2. If you need extra help with this topic, as always, come see me in class, come talk to your teacher. Otherwise, I hope you found this helpful, and I will see you in class.